Now, in spite of the prohibition, Nigerians are still importing the product. Last month, the Nigerian customs impounded a truck containing 100,000 bottles of 100mm codeine cough syrup along Ijebu-Ode-Ore Road. The government has now recalled 2.4 million bottles of cough syrup containing codeine as a result of a recent audit by the National Agency for for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that's NAFDAC.
Well, this is one of the measures to stem the scourge of drug abuse across the country. But is Nigeria winning this war against drug abuse, and the efforts being put in so far, are they even effective? Of course, we still have Chris Kendi Mwandu with us in the studio to talk to us about that. And we also have joining us at this time public affairs commentator Great Imo. Good morning to you, Great Imo. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here.
All right. It seems that even at this point, we should even be saying that it seems like codeine abuse right now and tramadol seems to be the greatest threat to so many youths across the country, not even youths alone. But would you say the efforts put in by the government so far, since that damning documentary months ago, have been enough?
Well, it's encouraging, but I don't think that is enough. This issue we are dealing with is a fundamental issue. The abuse of tramadol and other substances are symptoms of a fundamental problem, which is a big social issue that relates to social issues that need to be dealt with in Nigeria. Now, we confiscating codeine from traders and banning the importation and all of that is good. It's a short-term measure to dealing with the issue, but we must realize that there are issues leading to these drug abuses. Some of the reasons why this number of young Nigerians are getting involved in consumption of drug and abuse of drug, which relates to issues of poverty, lack of social care. We have a high number of young people today out of school. Today in Nigeria, we are dealing with about 14 million children out of school. Out of school, I mean kids who are supposed to be in primary schools, who are supposed to be in nursery schools, who are supposed to be in secondary school. We're talking about 14 million. That is a population larger than some countries of the world. I mean countries that are making progress. We look at countries like Iceland and Croatia and some of these. I mean a population that is larger than these countries of the world. We have that number of young people who have no future as it stands right now. We need to deal with issues of education, because number one, if you are going to educate these young people, if you are going to catch them, if you are going to reorient them, within which platform are you going to do that? Kids roaming out in the street, kids who have nowhere to live, kids who have nowhere to go, kids who have no parental care. So we have issues of failure of governance. I mean, it is not about today. It is a long time coming. So because of the things we failed to do over the years, now it's coming back to us. And the issue is that if we are going to deal with drug abuse in the long run, we need to begin to deal with these fundamentals. As of today, everybody's still talking about who is decamping from PDP and APC. Everybody's still talking about who's going to win 2019 election. We're still dealing with issues of corruption. We're not even dealing with what is the master plan for education. How do we intend to come out of problems that are leading these young people into this drug abuse? In the next 15 years, we need to have an education master plan that captures every young Nigerian. And also, you and I know as of today, we don't even have data in Nigeria. We are afraid to venture into capturing Nigeria. We need to know who is who. When a child is born in Nigeria, how do we know which local government, which community is he born? How do we keep tab on their growth? We don't have all this. A nation in 21st century does not have data. Today we keep talking about issues of Boko Haram and all of this. All these things are related. A nation that is not properly structured We don't know who is in Nigeria. People coming from Chad, people come, even the way these drugs are coming in. Some of them don't come in through the seaport and airport. They come up from the illegal entry points in Nigeria. So these issues are the fundamentals that we must deal with. As much as we are taking short-term measures to ensure that we curb the effect as of today. But I want to say these are one of the reasons we need, one of the things we need to do. Again, you and I know today that if Nigeria has become so materialistic, parents are bumping out of the homes every morning, going out to look for money, to buy big cars, buy big houses, travel abroad, you know, meet social status. We don't care for our kids. So parental care.
All right.
There's lack of parental care in Nigeria, so it is an issue. Great. So we must be beginning to deal with all this first also.
All right. Great has given a lot of factors that are responsible for this. Chris, let me come to you, because those factors, those push factors that lead youths into these things, we really have to look at those. Now, apart from the issue of poverty, failure of governance, unemployment that Great really gave, which are actually part of it, we have also seen young people who come from well-to-do homes, who come from very, in fact, born with silver spoons, who are also involved in this. How do we explain this dynamics?
Yeah, thank you very much. To a large extent, I agree with him. But we also was talking about education. You have to realize that it has gone beyond what he's saying. Because children, they are in school.
But he said they're all connected.
And that's what I'm saying. Children that are already in school even are taking drugs. In primary school, secondary school. In Lagos alone, some kids were caught the other day doing that. Then secondary, then universities. Most of those are already in the university. We're talking of those that are already in school. Because he's saying it's because most of them are out of school. I'm talking of those that are in school. Most of these boys and girls that are getting themselves engaged in courts and the rest of them, those are the kind of things they take. Okay? Then you also now talk of even children from influencer families and the rest of them. A lot of them are into this. I think the main problem is we've lost our family values. And that is the main cause. Mike, when we were growing up, there are certain things you dare not do in the house. I said, you know what I'm talking about. There are certain things. There are certain things that your mom
First of all, you ask yourself, if mommy hears.
I said, there's a saying that my mom used to say in those days, say, just don't forget the son of who you are.
Exactly.
It's
the name, the family name is so important.
Very, very important to us. So that, and because of that family value, it was a community. You are not being trained by only your parents. If you go astray, if you go astray, somebody, a family or a member or an elderly person see you misbehaving on the street,
you can cut a kid and flog you.
It's only flog
without telling your mom.
You know what we call conk? The conk they will give you. Understand? So most often than not, you come to realize that young people were brought up in a way and manner that they first of all valued their family names. That is that. Then in schools, when you see your teacher, for those of us that started primary school in the village, teachers were like gods. You know, they become a symbol of, those are people you look up to as your role models. So if you are doing anything wrong and your parents tell you that, I'm going to report it to your teacher. You know now.
That's the worst punishment.
Now our kids, I'll tell my kids, I'll report you, they say which auntie, which, my 8-year-old kid will tell you which teacher. You know, so it has gone beyond. It is the society.
So children have become too free now.
Then
too much of freedom.
The advance of technology has come. So there are so many things that we are not used to. A kid of 10 or whatever has a phone that can go into the net and do a lot of things and say a lot of things. So there's a lot of influence. Then the religious houses, the churches, the mosques, they have practically stopped what they're supposed to be doing. In those days, the things were being taught. Why your parents would say, as early as 7, once in 7, in fact, you don't even need to be told to be get ready to church. For those of you that are Muslim, you must make sure that you pray 5 times. You know, those things start, and those values, they inculcate those values into you that, not these days, what are the churches preaching? Prosperity. How you can do this, do that, and become multi-billionaire and the rest of it. So most often than not, the orientation of our youth habits, now they play more values on money and wealth. And our politicians are not helping at all, are helping matters at all. So all those cumulative things are some of the things that influence some of this. Then if you see that, then we cannot talk of those that are not employed and that are unemployed and the rest of them. Okay. Then you also realize that an idle hand is the devil's workshop. But also don't forget the fact that they don't get those drugs free.
They buy.
They buy. So where are they getting the money? So if somebody that is not working is buying such drugs at some very exorbitant prices, and just, have you asked yourself where he's getting the money?
Exactly.
So those are the
and besides that, if you look for it, you always see it somewhere.
That is what I'm saying.
Someone is supplying it.
Then there is always supply. Our law enforcement agencies, especially those, and that is where someone that this country can never forget someone like Dora Akunyili. Personally, as exposed as I am, as somebody that is well versed in the media in Nigeria, if you ask me the DG of NAFDAC, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. It's not because probably you know, but because we've not been seeing the kind of engagement that we're supposed to see.
Like we saw when
then we are now looking at what level of public enlightenment are we doing? In those days, we used to have MAMSA. Those are the kind of issues they take.
True.
In fact, remember the Q days,
exactly.
Don't take out to Andrew and the rest of them. Those are messages that resonate among Nigerians that becomes part of our psyche as individuals, and it sinks. So how many times have we been seeing on our public face, on TV, on radio, comment talking about the effects of drugs? They might be doing, but not in the large scale.
Not loud enough. All right, great. Yeah. Let's come to you. We've been made to understand that rich people are behind this because, like our analyst just said, and like we've seen, there is always supply every time. Because if there is no supply, these drug abusers won't have codeine to abuse or tramadol to abuse, and meaning that a lot of money has gone into this, and these people are doing, to them, is just pure business. So you think whatever effort the government is going to make will yield positive result at the long run, knowing that if truly these people are rich enough, they could be able to truncate any government effort?
Well, the government effort to curtail these abuses is actually, it must be commended actually. And it's not going to be a one-off thing, or it has to be taken from various angles, as we have also identified the various reasons for which all of these things are occurring. There also has to be multifaceted approach. There has to be multifaceted approach to dealing with it. So, for example, now tramadol or codeine are not the only substances that are being abused in Nigeria. They are just symbolic because their names have become popular. And looking at the fact that it is beneficial to those who are trading on it is not the only fact that we should be dealing with. Yes, these people have become so rich that they can now challenge some of the measures being taken by government, but government should not be deterred. Government must do its job. Government must man our borders. Government must insist on all of this. But also beyond the tramadol and codeine that have become the popular substances that are known, there are ones that are not also costly. Kids today are sniffing dongs. Kids today are smoking all manner of leaves. There are all manner of things going on. I had the opportunity to attend a program somewhere in Lagos, organized by the King's Heritage Church, and they brought an expert to come and talk about this. Some of the substances this guy mentioned, they don't cost 10 naira. They are just there on the street. Our parents and even some of our government officials don't even know these things can be abused. So the issue is not just about banning because some people are making money. Yes, we have the challenge of dealing with these elites who have gotten involved in this dealing with these substances. They are so much, they have corrupted some of the government institutions and personnel, who give them clearances to bring in some of these things. But beyond that, government officials need to go deep to understand that it is beyond codeine and tramadol. It is a subject that we must put critical attention on. That is why I talked about parental care. That's why I talk about manning kids who are fatherless, who are motherless, who are not in school, 14 million kids who are also going out there interacting with those who are also in school, giving them ideas, and all of these things are also snowballing to when you have money, you take codeine. When you don't have money, you go and sniff a dunk and all of those things. So it is not just about tramadol and codeine. It's not just about fighting, you know, the traffickers of these substances. Also, we must also ensure, let me say now, dealing with tramadol and codeine, the pharmacies must insist that these drugs and other substances and other analgesics that may also be abused are given purely on the recommendation of doctors. Purely on the recommendation of doctors. Then beyond tramadol and codeine, we need to identify these other substances that have been abused. And some of them you can't even control. Some of these kids are smoking papaya leaves. Yes, so we must know that you don't need money to get that. Some of them are smoking gum, they are hailing gum. All these substances have been abused. I mean, chew gums, the ordinary gums you use for shoemaking. We need to come to terms with these realities. So these kids need to be taken care of. When kids lack parental care, where there is no societal care, these things, we give them opportunity to go astray. I remember growing up those days in my community, we used to have an adage, no one person owns a child. If your child goes out there and misbehaves, another adult there will spank the child, another adult there will make sure that that child is disciplined. Even today, in schools, parents don't allow their kids to be disciplined. You see parents going to school to fight teachers for disciplining their kids for doing the job they failed to do in their homes. Parental care is key to solving this problem. Community interest is key to solving this problem. Social reorientation is key to solving this problem. We need to find platforms. For example, using schools, using social media, using movies. For example, we see Nollywood movies, yeah, they are interesting. They've been educating us about a lot of things, but we are seeing a lot more of nude pictures in Hollywood today, trying to catch up with the West. But specifically, we need to tailor our movies also to deal with these issues, letting children know the disadvantages of getting involved in this. Movies have been used as ways of educating society. Government need to begin to sponsor movies specifically in this direction. You may even make it a telenovela that runs all through the year. We can't be watching Z-World, Telemundo, talking about Indian love when millions of kids are dying. Government need to put money in movies that are, you know, that will stay long on the media shape, that will be educating young people about these things. Because sometimes you need to dramatize for them to understand, and that is the world we are in now. So it's got to be a multifaceted approach, please.
Thank you, great. Thank you very much for that insight. Now, Chris, when it comes to actually looking at the solution to these things, we know that the whole society is so multifaceted, so complex, but we haven't seen the strategy, the master plan by government, for instance, to say we want to be able to rid the country or rid our society of these ills. For instance, we had the strategy by Ministry of Health, supported by United Nations or WHO, against polio. There was a strategy plan. We don't seem to see all of those kinds from government when it comes to these social issues.
That's what I'm saying. It just goes beyond. It goes beyond the rhetorics. We are very good at giving rhetorics when it comes to issues and problems, and I think that the issue of drugs is now going beyond what we used to do. There should be a concerted effort, just like we had a concerted effort on Ebola.
Exactly.
Just like we had with HIV/AIDS. That was NACA that was in charge of that. Okay, I think that
and all states also have
other states, so they have the states have SACA and the rest of them. Just like what we have for disasters when we came up with NAMA. Just like we have for erosion control. Okay, when we have the ecological. So this is even more because it is hitting more at our youth.
The future of the country.
These are the future leaders of this country. If we cannot be able to manage the crisis now, then we are going to run into problem. Then we also look at it from the point that, that's why I was talking about values, our value system. Look at, he's talking about movie. I'm not even talking about movie. Look at our music industry. Look at what is churned out every week and every day on our TV, on our musical videos. The kind of
in fact, there are songs glorifying codeine abuse.
That is what I'm saying. There are songs that even supporting some of those things. If you see the guy, the artist, when he dances, the way he takes his smoke, the way he smokes, and the way he goes about, children are watching. Most of them get this orientation that that is the way to go. Subconsciously, it sinks. Okay, that is where even our regulatory agencies like NBC and the rest of them need to come in. It is a total thing. So many regulatory agencies, not just NAFDAC. Don't forget that Dora Akuili, I'm still going back to her, was almost killed, shot.
The bullet went through.
The bullet only went through her scarf. She was almost killed. Why? Because she was trying to rid the country of illegal. We must try as much as possible. We are putting money for security, insecurity, and the rest of them. The one that is on ground now, if care is not taken, we explode and give us more problem that you are having with the Fulani herdsmen and the herdsmen and all the. Don't forget also, most of these people also use these drugs, because once you take some of these things, you are out of your own senses. That is why we are seeing a rise in crime. We are seeing people, what we are seeing now, kidnapping. We are seeing armed robbery and the increase. We are seeing people now go pick up people and slaughter them. We see a lot of ritualists going. Most of these people don't do it. Just you see minors, you see people molesting 4-year-old kids and the rest of them. Most of them is because of the effect of a normal human being won't do that. Then our Ministry of Health, psychologists, we need to train. We need to now get in a lot of we need to train a lot of psychologists now, because what is even happening now is now parents. Now I come back to parents. Most of the parents live in the morning, go to their places of work or market, and they don't come back till 10. Both father and mother. In those days, it used to be the man goes out. Then the woman will look after the children. So
there's a responsibility gap.
It's a responsibility. There's a serious responsibility gap within our society. A very big vacuum that needs to say. And that is where the federal government and the state government, the president, the governors, and our leaders we should go beyond just talking about APC and OPC. Those are minute for me. They're minute things. We have serious challenges in this country now. And the abuse of drugs is, you look at kids, even go to the garages. Go to the garages and see what is happening. Go and see the rate of accidents now. Before a driver leaves the garage, Okpei and the rest of them, it will take something that you just get to do and just then look at the ones driving those trailers. You are seeing a lot of accidents. Most of those young boys, they're also under the influence of drugs and the rest of them. So it's a very big and huge, but I don't think the government, just banning it is just one out of the several solutions that we have. But we must have the will to be able to start. And also, most of those caught, what kind of punishment is being meted at? Probably we need to look at our laws. That is where the National Assembly and the rest of them come. Probably what we have now, because at times you just see them, you see some of these people, once they are arrested and they're given 2 months imprisonment or bail of 500,000 and the rest of that, they go back to what they are doing. So then our custom, the custom is doing the best they can under the circumstances. There should not be a concerted effort within the agencies, the security agencies, the immigration. It's the immigration. I saw the CG of immigration talking last night and saying that the problem we're having in terms of security is now there's no synergy between the sister agencies, and there's the need for us to do that. So there's the need for us to be able to, or else we are going to have more problem, because you will know that the population of Nigeria is over 60% at the younger generations.
Exactly.
And so, and that is if that affects them, then you'll be shocked. Even the universities, you see somebody that is on a first class, supposed to be a first class student, but before you know it, something just happened and it's just derails and the rest of them. So our teachers, the government, our religions, are so many. Is a total package that should not be left for only one agency. That is my own thinking about this.
Great, Timo. We've been talking about the solution, you know, to be adopted by the government and what they've been doing so far to forestall it. But what about the damage already done? How do we address it as a people? There are so many young people out there that are already under the influence, that are abusing these drugs on a daily basis. How do Nigerians help them? Not just the government now. How do we move forward?
Well, it's important. Number one, this is where we need the services of therapies, of social psychologists, and all of those. We as much as we don't have many of them in Nigeria, we need to, you know, bring them to a kind of giving us some training the trainers of program. We need to mobilize the top professionals in the country, host them, use opportunity of a conference, record their solution method, put them in books, send them to schools, such that teachers who are not actually professional psychologists and therapists can learn from books. That is one. Number two, we also need to use schools, churches, as they have been identified, religious institutions, to intensify, you know, this social orientation problem. There's a solution. We need to come up with strategy in place. We now look for measures for disseminating these strategies. Like I talked about, the use of movies, the use of music, the training, the trainers conference, from which we can record the outcome of this conference. Hello?
Yeah, what you are talking about will be so effective as if utilized as preventive measures. But what about reactive measures now? Those that are already under the influence that they cannot do without taking something almost every minute or hour.
Yes, I understand you very well. This is what we're saying. We don't have enough facility now to quarantine all of these people. We need the institutions, like I have mentioned, the religious institutions. For example, in Ukraine, our own Nigerian, the pastor from Ijabode, Pastor Sunday Adelaja, in Eastern Europe, runs a home for people who are in this problem. I think somewhere in Lagos, we also have Pastor Tony Raku doing such a thing. So when some people have achieved some results, what we need to do is to borrow from what they have done and multiply the effect.
All right, gentlemen. Yeah, great.
Get communities to
great.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. We have to. Time is gone, so we have to end it here right now. Great, Timo. Thank you so much for talking to us. And Chris Kainingwanju, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
My
now,
pleasure.
coming up,